Rob, it's the first day of pre-season. You're welcoming the majority of your boys back. How excited are you by the new season now?
To be honest with you, we've had a couple of meetings this morning already, and we've started doing some individual meetings as well. You know, I'm feeling really good about things. The guys look like they've got a really good frame of mind. The individual meetings are going really well so far, and we look energetic and excited. And I think our experiences of last season, you know, I know it's very early to say, but I think that hold us in good stead. That we know actually we've got to turn up in pre-season and work very hard. And that we're actually saying to the players that, you know, if you're playing for a side that's just won the Premiership, that team should be made up of very special people and very special players, and that means you're going to have to work exceptionally hard if you want to be part of that. And it looks to me so far that they're really taking that on board. It's
the first day for someone to put down a marker, isn't it, in your eyes? You know, the work starts now.
Well, that's very much it. That's what we said to the players. You know, showing what kind of a quality of rugby player you are is a little bit tough, you know, especially if you're a new player and you're learning new systems and you're trying to learn new course. But actually showing the quality of a person you are, and how hard you're prepared to work and how much you're prepared to buy into everything with the rest of the players, you can lay down a lot of markers about the kind of man you are very, very quickly. And that's really what we've talked about, is, you know, lay down all the right signals to us, show that you're prepared to work really hard. You know, I should have the conditioners walking back into our coaches room saying how hard the players are working and naming them individually as being, you know, absolutely flat out and getting personal bests. And that's what we've challenged them with, and that's what we're going to keep challenging them with.
You talked last season that you didn't put a full stop on the season before. How do you go about addressing being champions?
Well, but I think because of that, we've addressed it very much, and I think a lot of the players kind of, you can see them mentally address it themselves. They know the mistakes of last season and not really saying goodbye to the season before. Yes, it's tough, and everyone will want to talk about us being champions, but we're not really talking about that. We're talking about, you know, what the qualities we need to show in the very first Premiership game will be, and to create that, the qualities we need to show in pre-season. And I do think the experiences for us as a club, for us as coaches, and for a lot of the players from, as I say, 2 seasons ago when we lost the final, have been learnt. I'd like to say they've been learnt. I mean, obviously the time will always tell, but to me we look like a bit hungrier group. I know there's been a lot more lads around in pre-season training. You know, I definitely don't feel that the players have drawn breath so much. I think they've won the Premiership, but I think they look hungry for more. And as I say, already in some individual meetings, we've had a lot of players talking about how much they want to progress as players, and that's actually quite exciting. And some of them are senior players. You know, it's not just the 19 and 20 and 23-year-olds. We're saying where they want to develop as players. You know, we're getting experienced international players coming in saying that, oh, over the next 8 weeks I want to develop this in my game, and physically I want to change in a certain way, and that's very exciting. Those certainly aren't guys who sound like they're going to draw breath, and I'm just really pleased that they've had the opportunity to win a Premiership.
5 new faces coming into camp today. What are you expecting from these guys, especially during this opening few weeks?
Well, I think that's what we have in the individual meetings very early in pre-season, because actually what we're actually asking of them is to show really good qualities as people first and foremost. You know, the rugby can come. You know, there's a reason we've signed them, is because we've seen really good rugby qualities in them when we've looked at them. And for me, it's more about them getting well settled in, but also driving some standards of their own, working exceptionally hard, and starting to challenge the other players around them, even the established players, that, you know, there's someone looking over their shoulder. And that's what we've talked about, is those guys, as I said, they can set some very high standards out for themselves now, and set some really good markers just by the kind of people they are. And that's what we want to see in these initial couple of weeks. The rugby will come, and the rugby will develop as they get used to how we play.
The big thing the media picked up on last year was how fit the Chiefs were. This is where it's done, and we saw it come through in the final in particular.
Yeah, and I think this is the start point. We're not going to overly do things too hard these first few days, but we will, as I say, we will start driving them forward day by day, until we can find the real levels that everyone can perform at. A lot of it's mental. You know, mentally a lot of it is, you know, letting the boys know we're going to try and push the dark places, and, you know, we want them to volunteer to go into those places, not hide away from it. When we're training really well and with really good intensity, when we put a really good group of games, group of training together, we get a group of players together who like going to where it really hurts, and they actually try and get there as quick as they can. And those are the kind of qualities we're going to push in pre-season. You know, we want the lads to actually enjoy going to places where they start failing. And I think that's what we've driven with these lads here today already in the meetings, that we don't mind them making mistakes, but we want them to make mistakes going flat out at full speed, working very hard. That gives us something to work with.
There's a few guys missing, still some on international duty. Just reflect on the summer and how pleased you must have been to see some guys picking up first international caps.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's like anything, isn't it? You know, when you talk about caring for each other, this is how it works. You know, if you take part in a good team and you're a good player in a good side, opportunities arise for you. And we talked about it for a number of years, how, you know, everyone helps each other. by training very hard, working very hard, being successful on the pitch. That creates opportunities for some guys to go and play international rugby, for some guys to go and play for the British Lions, and it's always fantastic to me to see so many guys go away and playing international rugby, because it kind of shows that as a club we're getting a lot of things right, but it also shows that as a team these lads are working extremely hard to give some other lads an opportunity. Rugby should all be about, and team sport should be all about, is we looking after each other and creating opportunities for each other.
And for you as a coach and your coaching team, a new experience going in as champions, how do you reflect on that, and how excited are you by it?
Again, I would like to think that we've learnt from being in a couple of Premiership finals. I'd like to think we're maturing and we're learning and we're developing, and as I said, it does already feel a little bit different this pre-season, and I think that's a really good sign. Obviously it's how we drive it forward over the next 8 weeks before the season starts, and how we drive it through pre-season fixtures, and how we drive it into those early fixtures, and obviously going into Europe. So we've got a lot of things to work at, but we do feel like we're pretty well set. We feel we've got a strong squad. We haven't picked up too many injuries in the international period so far. I know there's a couple of games still left, but I think at this stage, we're feeling pretty good about ourselves, and I think we're actually looking forward to the fact that it's quite a short pre-season, because we finished late last year, and that actually it's not going to be long before we're really back into competitive games.
And you talked about Europe there. We know who we're going to be tackling in that competition now. 3 formidable forces.
Yeah, but I think it's like anything, and when you really look forward and you really set yourself challenges, you want really tough games. And for me now, we're going to focus hugely on what we want to achieve in the next 4 weeks, and then as a coaching group we'll start talking about how we want to approach the first block of Premiership games pretty quickly, and whether we do anything through that Premiership block that prepares us better probably than we have the last couple of years for that first 2 games. That'll be for us to work at and for us to decide, but a lot of that will hugely be dictated by the work the players put in now. If the work these players put in shows us that we've got 27, 28 absolutely top class performers, and we've got to make sure they're all featured in the first 8 or 9, 10 games, then we probably will. If the way the group train now shows us we've got 15, it starts to make it a little bit more difficult. So really a lot of it's going to be down to players and what they achieve and how hard they drive themselves now, because they're the ones who create the confidence we can have in them.
Thank you, Rob.